and welcome back to Clownfish TV. It is me, Geeky Sparkles, and you're just getting me today because Neon is elsewhere. You might get a video with him later. Today we're going to talk about an article that came out a couple days ago, and I had seen it and I didn't actually get into reading it until I saw other things come out of it. But two takeaways that I got from this article was, one, they're going to leave Inside Out 2 in theaters for 100 days. Kind of like what we saw with Elemental last year. And I think they're trying to retrain audiences. And I think they're also possibly worried and they want to leave it in theaters longer to build up that box office. Also, there's a mandate basically at Pixar that's, to milk IP that currently exists and to look at franchise seeds with new films to make new franchises that Disney can then milk for IP consistently and put in their theme parks, etc., etc. So before I get into it any further, please like and subscribe. If you do, I'll give you a woohoo, woohoo. And we're going to take a look at this. So Bloomberg had this article about Pixar. They're talking about Disney is banking on sequels to help get Pixar back on track. We have seen Pixar not do so hot. Lightyear was a complete disaster. A lot of their films were shoved directly to Disney Plus. They talked about how the people that worked at Pixar were very disheartened over the situation because they were basically being relegated to fodder for subscriber growth back when when Disney Plus first started. We did Luca and Turning Red and Soul, and they ended up being put on Disney Plus. And when they released them to the theaters just this year, they didn't do well because everybody had already seen them. Honestly, I don't know why they bothered. They probably spent more money paying to release to the theaters than they made off the films. I think they're just like, don't forget about us. Well, now they're banking on Inside Out 2. All right. Last year was Elemental. And if you remember correctly, Elemental did not do great. When it started, it only opened to 29.5 million domestically and 44.5 million globally. It was not good. And then they left it in the theater pretty much the whole summer. They left it go and go. And it ended up coming out at the end a lot higher than that. It was like 400 and here they went to 148 million North America and 425 million worldwide. And its budget, I think, was around 200 million. So it made some money. It came out ahead. But initially, it looked like it was going to be another disaster. Now, Disney, I think, is worried about Inside Out 2 because they're now doing the same thing. They're going to leave it in the theaters for 100 days before going to streaming. Now, with Elemental, people didn't know how long it was going to be in theaters. A lot of people didn't go because they thought, it's going to be in Disney Plus pretty quick. Well, now they're telling people it's going to be 100 days until it's into Disney Plus. So people now they know how long they have to wait. I don't know if this is going to work the way I think it is. I think they're trying to retrain audiences. However, they just told them what the time frame was. Last time, I think it came out in June and it went on to Disney Plus in September. So it was I don't think it was even 100 days if you look at the time frame. But now they're saying it's going to be at least 100 days until it goes to Disney Plus. Here, they're saying in here that they're talking about Jim Morris, who's the president of Pixar, and his strategy for the release of Inside Out 2 on June 14th. They talk about how the first one did 859 million at the box office. Of course, that was back when theaters were doing well. But he said, if families show up for Inside Out 2 and the kind of numbers Pixar used to see, it'll reaffirm the studio's standing. But if the movie fails, it'll fuel concerns about the company's relevance in an increasingly crowded animation industry and call into question whether its next films, Elio in 2025 and Toy Story 5 in 2026, are just more bets in the wrong direction. Look, what's not fair to Pixar is Disney kind of screwed them over. They really, truly did. And Neon's convinced they're going to roll it in with Walt Disney Animation. They call it Disney Pixar anyway, so it wouldn't be much of a difference just to call all of it Disney Pixar. But they kind of screwed them over. And I don't think Elio looks like it's going to do too much. But Toy Story 5, but Lightyear did terrible because they weren't focusing on a Buzz Lightyear that wasn't Buzz Lightyear. I'm hoping they learn some lessons, but I'm doubting it, which also ties into this new mandate that they're talking about. And they're basically saying they're going to do 3 movies every 2 years instead of a movie a year. It's 3 every 2 years. However, the 3 every 2 years include 2 sequels or spin-offs and 1 new movie. All right. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to do sequels and spin-offs and try to see what they can make from that. So they're just basically trying to make franchise seeds, as they call it, to go ahead and give Disney something else to milk. They're just trying to turn Pixar into this IP cranking machine. It was interesting, though. Bloomberg talked about how Pixar brought people to the theater, and for years, it did really well. And in 2018, they lost John Lasseter. And then, from that then on, we started to see, some decline after the things that he worked on went through the pipeline. We saw more of a decline. They're talking about the pandemic, and they trained audiences to expect Pixar's to be on their homes, at their homes on their phones, instead of going to the theater, which I think is part of it for sure. They said when they finally returned to theaters in 2022 with Lightyear, a Toy Story spinoff, the film's dour tone, filmed to impress critics and moviegoers, while a scene with the same-sex kiss resulted in its being banned in most countries with predominantly Muslim populations. Okay, that's true. They banned that, but it easily could have been removed. But they got banned over this. But there were a lot of news outlets trying to say this part was what killed the movie, but it's not what killed the movie. It's a very tiny aspect of the movie. It was a Buzz Lightyear film that didn't have proper Buzz Lightyear. And people were like, what the hell is this? Because you thought you were so clever. It got so bad, people behind this got gone, okay? And we've had, it's been a downturn ever since. It's just gotten worse and worse. But they're talking here, here's where they mention it. Every hit of yesteryear is being considered for a reboot, with Finding Nemo and The Incredibles regarded as particularly strong candidates for new titles. Hot damn, more Finding Nemo. Morris aims to make 3 movies every 2 years. Historically, it's been closer to 1 a year, with every other title a sequel or spin-off and the rest standalone concepts or potential seeds for new franchises. So this is all about trying to, instead of being creative, like Pixar was always known for being like really creative. And a lot of the movies that did really well, there was a story that they basically had a brainstorming meeting, and wrote down a bunch of ideas. And that's kind of what made up the Pixar movies they did. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's basically what the rumor is. But they've always come up with really engaging and good films. And I mean, Turning Red was actually not too bad. People really hated it because I don't know why, the whole like menstruation analogies and stuff, I guess, but it wasn't that bad. Luca wasn't that bad either. Neither one of them were as good as like Coco or anything like that. I'm not going to say they were, because they weren't. But they've normally done really well in the box office, and they've had really, really good films. The problem is that Disney is about making money, and all they want to do is fuck creativity. And even though Iger keeps saying, back to the creatives, by giving stuff back to the creatives, he means they just, get responsibility for his mandates to make sequels and spinoffs. They got to have more fodder for theme parks, because that's basically what they said they're going to do moving forward, is just IP the hell out of Disneyland, Disney World, etc. And they're going to go back to that and focus on the spinoffs more so than they are going to focus on new things. I don't think Elio is going to do that well. I'm sorry. From what I've seen of it so far, I could be wrong. Maybe by next year when we see more, I'll change my mind. But at this point in time, I do not think it's going to do well. But what do we have? We have Elio coming, but we also have Frozen 3, Toy Story 5, Inside Out 2. And now we're probably going to have more Finding Nemo and The Incredibles. The Incredibles without Brad Bird, that won't work very well. And we just expect more of the same, because they're basically saying instead of taking risks on new ideas and creativity, we're going to just keep pumping out Frozen until, Elsa falls over, Olaf melts, and who knows what the hell's going to happen to Anna. I don't know. Somebody's going to probably end up, Elsa's going to end up with a girlfriend, and who knows what else, given the way they are over there. But that's not even Pixar. That's Disney. But we're just doubling down on sequels across the board. And if Inside Out 2 doesn't do well, I have to wonder, are we going to see them get rolled together with Disney Animation But we do know that no matter what, we're going to get 100 days in the theater, at least 100 days until it hits streaming. The way it reads in the Bloomberg article is 100 days in the theater. And then we're going to see what happens. But I think this is a twofold issue. I think, one, they're trying to retrain audiences, but I think they have confidence that it'll do well initially, but I don't know if they have confidence it's going to do well long term. So we'll see what happens. I think it's tracking for 80 million opening. I don't know if that's still the same, but that's what it was. But expect all the same from Pixar, and expect longer runs in the theater because Disney's trying to scrape back their money and they're trying to retrain audiences to once again go to the theater. However, when you tell them 100 days, they might just be like, oh, I can wait 100 days till it's on streaming. So what do you think? Comment and let us know, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.